Hitting record. Yes. Okay, good. So let's talk about keys to closing and handling objections. That's our main thing for this particular workshop. Okay. So keys to closing and handling objections. The first thing I want to give you guys a money quote, and thank you all for, those of you that are in the office. Again, welcome to the first first day of the second week of the 17-day push, right? The first day of the second week of our 17-day push. Okay. So, yeah, only 1 week down, right? We still got a week and a half left. And I want to talk about telling is not selling. Let's write that down. Telling is not selling, right? Just telling people about the product, doing a demo. Yesterday, one of you watched a talk called Advanced Training 6, ad, whatever you want to call this, promotion of selfish promotion. It's not even my talk, but it's literally one of the greatest talks in the history of Vector Connect. Actually, you watched it a couple days ago. I think I sent it to you the other day. Eve just watched it, took some notes on it yesterday. I want to say Advanced Training VI, Roman numeral. So if you're on Vector Connect, you search Advanced Training VI, or just search the term Advanced Training. Scroll down to the audio library. It's a talk from 2002. And to this day, it's one of the most timeless sales trainings you can get on Vector Connect. So for those that will watch this video in later dates, to this day, 20-some years later, it's still one of the greatest talks given on Vector Connect. So listen to that thing in between appointments. I guarantee you will sell more Cutco. But one of the points I want to make is that telling is not selling. And when you're just doing a demo to see what happens, if you're doing a demo without real intent, Moroni said, you got to have real intent. Okay. Right. So my goal is to help you guys have the intent to sell, not to tell. Doing a $21 demo is going to get you $21. Doing a homemaker demo or a touchdown demo, doing a demo that's like Cutco kitchen worthy, selling cookware, selling flatware, selling signature sets. Don't overcomplicate it though. It actually isn't that hard to close the sale when you have the intent to sell instead of to show up and hope it goes well. That rhymed. I hope that turns into a song or a beat or whatever someday. Okay. Do the demo with the intent to sell, not just to see what happens and hope it goes well. Right. So keys to closing. First, I just said it. Keep it simple, stupid. Or keep it stupid simple. Right. Cutco is awesome. The demo could almost end if you said it with the right enthusiasm, tone, and everything. You guys know that one of the first lines of the demo. Cutco is awesome, right? You got to be starting there. You're dumb not to buy Cutco. Guys, we're number 2 office in the company year to date, and we're number 2 in the office in the company this week. Number 1 in the region, number 1 in the division, and we tripled the nearest office. I'm talking about Salt Lake City, right? And again, Salt Lake North grew by triple last year, I want to say, right now. And some great weeks are happening in our other offices. But guys, you should feel proud of what you've been doing. Evan with a $10,000 a week, almost 11,000. Connor with a $9,500 a week. A few of you with 5K. Let's see. Trace, Kenzie, almost 5,000 or over 5,000. Bree with a $4,000 a week, and 3,000 for Caitlin. And a number of you at a couple $1,000 just got home from Dubai. And things are going great. And we still could sell more Cutco. Raise your hand if you're like, I left a lot of CPO on the table last week. I left a lot of CPO. Could have sold to that lady, could have sold to that lady. Side note, remember, you're literally acquiring with every demo you do. If you with Passion Bree, if you with Passion Bryn, if you with Passion Parker, shared your goals and told people what you're trying to achieve this week, what you're trying to sell, and what your goal is in the 17 days. If you shared that and you sold at all, or sold a little, or sold a lot, or sold nothing, you're literally compiling a list of calls for a week from Thursday night. So in 10 days, we will have our phone jam, the team meeting, which is the night before the conference, and you will be collecting orders that night. You're going to set the stage through social media, through some texts, and you're going to call people and say, I'm giving the most unbelievable deals tonight. It's the last night of my contest. And many of you will have $2 to $5 grand evenings. That night, you'll have your biggest day of your career, and you won't even set foot in a customer's home, or you might actually go to their home. But I want to make sure you understand, we're compiling. I'm getting off subject. I got to get back to my slideshow here. But I want you to realize, even the no sales right now, promise orders are what? never orders. But when you've told them a goal with fervency, excitement, enthusiasm, and you're like really intense about your goals, some of those promise orders, some of those people that should have bought more, you left the CPO on the table, they're actually going to be the people that you will lock down on that Thursday night, because they're seeing you, hopefully on social media. Hopefully they're seeing you, you're posting your little pictures of your demo and say, I'm on this far to my goal, and maybe throw a thermometer up on Instagram, or, people are following you, right? So back to this. First thing is keep it simple. When you're doing the demo, right? All right. When you're doing the demo, you got to keep it simple, right? And just build and read your manual, right? And after you've built good rapport and throughout, you want to be building rapport throughout the demo, right? Just like on the phone calls. Next is dropping down slowly. Please write down, never skipping steps. I heard of one of our representatives yesterday who sold $35,000 worth of Cutco and had a $5,000 a week. Calvin had a $5,000 week too. And I heard someone who sold a lot of Cutco last week actually not drop down. But I also know that the person they showed showed the husband without the wife, right? So that's usually a recipe for a no sale anyway, right? So if you had a no sale and you only saw the husband, that's almost always a recipe for a no sale. So when you're showing the right people, let me sidestep that for a second. As long as you're showing the wife or the husband and the wife. Here's why I want to show, especially the wife, because she's like, I want to buy the homemaker. I got to talk to my husband. But if you don't show her a studio set, because she's like, hey, I want to spend $2,000 on knives. He's like, what? By the way, the same guy who spends $2,000 on golf clubs, $2,000 on a hunting rifle, $2,000 on a, used motor, vehicle, right? We'll call it a motorbike or whatever you want to call it, right? A dirt bike. They spend $2,000 on a lot of dumb things. Husbands spend way more thousands of dollars than wives ever spend thousands of dollars. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? And what's going to get used more, the dirt bike or a set of knives for the rest of their life, right? Keep that in mind. But I'm never going to take a promise order for a homemaker, an ultimate, or a signature, or anything like that. I'm going to drop down through the galley sets, the stars. I'd rather sell them a galley set and, be done for now and follow up with a bigger order later than to take a promise order for anything. Promise orders are what? Never orders. Just don't let that happen. So that's why I always drop down through every set. I remember showing, actually, it was a husband and a wife, but the dad was into it more than the wife sometimes. That's very rare, but it happened. And they were like, I can't afford a homemaker, can't get it. I want to buy it right now, but I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it. And guys, it's like green eggs and ham. All I did was pleasantly persistent, drop down to a studio +4. They're like, ooh, ooh. Oh, ooh, and they made all those noises. I kid you not. It was like, dude, this is a little inappropriate. Okay. But they've dropped down, and you'll sell a starter set when you actually show it. You will never sell a starter set if you don't show it. And I'm glad I got a studio set. I still remember that was in Streamwood, Illinois. It's not the nicest area of Illinois. It's not the nicest suburb of Chicago at all. One of the least economically prosperous suburbs of Chicago, other than like deep, dark, south side of Chicago, right? It's not the wealthiest suburb of Chicago. And they bought a studio +4. And to this day, I remember saying, I'm so glad I dropped down and didn't skip steps, right? So if you skip steps, you skip sales. Skip the 5-piece, skip the 3-piece. You're not selling it. And then it's really hard to sell 2 knives when you can't discount 2 knives, right? So you show the 5-piece knowing you'll sell a 3-piece. You show the starter set knowing you'll sell 5 pieces. That's why we drop down every demo, right? So when you do the review of all the sets, here's what I'll say. Stack the cool. Write down stack the cool. When I stack the cool, what stacking the cool is saying, Mr. Jones, in this set, the signature set, you get 3 cutting boards, large, medium, small. I say that slowly. Large, medium, and small. All 3 fit in the dishwasher. The large is tight, but it fits. I'm selling you guys so you can sell your customers. You get a sharpener with your set. You get the scissors. It's one of the only 2 sets that we make that has the scissors in the block. You get all of the pieces of the homemaker. And you get and I'm literally sounding a little infomercially as I do this to you guys, right? And that's the way I would sound to them. And you get the Santoku, Petite Santoku, and you get the Hardy Slicer, and you get the cheese knife, and you get 10 table knives instead of just 8. Look at my face. Instead of just 8, you get 10 table knives. And I'm going to give you this. I'm going to buy you this. I'm going to give you this. And I'm going to buy you this and this. all for free. Your total retail value is what on the blue bar? This much. And you're only paying this much. So you're saving this much. And today it's only this much. 4 numbers. And that's how you present each set. I'm telling you, if you're dropping down and you're at the galley, you still get the medium-sized cutting board. You still get the block. You still get the 7 pieces in the kitchen. Plus, you get 6 of the table knives. I'm giving you the shears for free and the cheese knife, whatever you're doing, right? And that's worth this. It only costs this today. It's this much in savings, and it's only this much today. That's way less than the first option or the second option, 2 options ago, right? And I'm telling you, if you can give them clarity of the difference, remember, a block of knives, a block of knives, a block of knives, a block of knives. You want to get a block of knives? They'll be like, no, too expensive. Clarity is, why is the galley different than the homemaker? Why is the signature different from the ultimate set? What am I getting? And that's why I'm listing the cutting board, I'm listing the block, I'm listing the sharpener, I'm listing all the stuff, stacking the what? Cool. What am I getting out of this? This is awesome, right? And I'm building it up, and I'm a little cheesy infomercially, right? Your enthusiasm matters. And some of you, all of you, raise your hand. Sometimes you're like nervous about dropping down, so you're not enthusiasm dropping down. Raise your hand if that's you, okay? Everybody, myself included, when I was the newer rep, right? So it's important that you're stacking the cool and you're excited and enthusiasm. If you're not excited to sell me a galley set, why the freak would I buy it? And if you're not excited to sell me a studio set because you're disappointed you didn't sell a signature set, why am I going to buy that, dude? That's the ghetto set. I don't want no ghetto set. I want to buy the signature. I'm all about the signature set. Side note, remember Phil's line, Miss Jones, I want to buy a Ferrari, right? But just because I want to buy a Ferrari doesn't mean I'm not going to own a Honda first. So when she's trying to do a promise order on a signature set or an ultimate set, and I love saying this to the men who have the egos. Oh, we're going to do it. We're going to do it all. They're like, we're going to get, you're going to get the whole thing. You guys know what I'm talking about? They grab the belt, waist, whatever, and I'm going to get the whole thing, right? That's grandpa, right? And you got to say, Miss, I know you want to get the whole thing, and I get that. And if you don't just hand me the credit card, I'll take it. But you know what? I want to get a Ferrari too someday, but I'm not going to ride my bike until then. I'm going to buy a Honda, and then I'll buy a BMW, and then I'll buy a Ferrari, right? And then you're like, oh yeah, you're right. I didn't buy my coolest car that I have now that costs 10, 50 times what a Cutco costs, that they ruin, right? All right. So let's talk about, so we got 6-8 minutes here. I want to bust through this. Are you letting your last demos define your today demos? Are you being unfair to yourself to saying, I can't have that type of sale. I can't sell a signature set. I'm not as good as that rep. I didn't have a 10K week. Well, neither did the person who had a 10K week until they had a 10K week. Do you guys understand that? Evan never had a 10K. It took him 10 days to sell 10 grand in his fast start. But all of a sudden he has a 10K week, probably on less demos. I'm not sure. Right? I don't know. Connor's had a 10K order, but he's never had a $9,000 week until this week. $9,500 week off the top of my head. Okay. So don't let your last demos. Are you losing confidence in the demo that you're benefiting the customer by selling them Cutco? Sometimes you're so worried about the CPO, you forget the Cutco's so much better than your demo. And Cutco's going to serve them a lot more than your demo. Right? Are you really being confident that you're doing them a service? Are you not confident that they can and will spend money? Are you believing the lie? So write that down. Don't believe the lie. Okay, don't believe the lie that they can't spend some money. Here's what I always remember. The same lady who said no to me on my demo, because I had no sales too, that same lady went to Costco that day before or after my demo and spent $400. And she didn't give the objection to the lady behind the counter at Costco. Oh, I didn't know it was going to be $400. I can't afford that. That same lady goes to Costco, spends $400 on muffins and laundry soap. Okay. Are you really interested in helping the customer, or are you overly focused on your goal? You should get paid more when you serve more people and when you serve your people better. And you do when you drop down slow and show them the value rather than being hyped or nervous about your CPO or your sales. Don't do the demo just to see what happens. And some people, I'm telling you, it's sad, but some people think they're smart enough to not follow the manual. Right? Well, this lady this lady that, so I won't show this. No, right? You got to follow the manual. All right, let's talk about objections. Write down objections cycle. I thought this came up with effects, but it's okay if it doesn't. We'll talk about the 5 steps to handling an objection. 5 steps to handling an objection. And we're going to see how easily this models in the manual. So I'm going to try and hurry and go through this, guys. The first step to handling an objection: too much money, too many knives. You guys know those are the main 2 objections. Too much money, too many knives. Okay. It isn't the husband. It isn't, they need to think about it. Do they not eat? Like, really? You don't think you'll use knives for the next 40 years? Now, you can't respond that way, but isn't it true to understand that they're going to use the knives forever? And by the way, you got to freaking believe that. You got to freaking love that you're offering them a product that they'll buy, once, use every day, never have to buy ever again. And literally they'll save time, money, and energy just in the purchase, right? That's freaking cool. And you should be proud of that. Okay. Okay. So the first thing we have to do is we listen. And silence is golden. Write it down. Silence is golden. Do you guys remember #1 office in the company last week was Jackson, Mississippi? I think it was. And they were #1 in the company last week. And the division manager out there, he's like, stop getting in that 50K. Yeah. So he's talking smack. Okay. Okay. So the first thing is silence is golden. When they give you an objection, listen, let them say it. And why do we do 3 to 5 seconds? Because silence is golden. And I want you to remember to breathe. Because somebody's like, oh, what am I going to say to that? And you start breathing shallow, right? And it totally shows. Like they can actually see, smell, and taste your fear. That makes sense? You got to let it sink in, so to speak, right? Listen, don't be upset that they give you objection. Remember, your biggest problem is that you think you shouldn't have problems. Your biggest problem in a demo is you think you're not going to get objections. Who are you? That's the dumbest thing I ever heard of. People are going to say, oh, I can't afford it, or I got to think about it. They're going to say whatever they got to say. Why do they say it, though? They need the space to think about it. They give you a sales wall, is what you're saying, right? But they really just need some space because they're like, okay, we just built all the, like, they don't know the subconscious. They're like, we built all the value. Now it's time to buy. And this is what I do when I buy a car. This is what I do when I buy a refrigerator. This is what I do when I buy a pool and I get a new hardscape, deck with a retaining wall, and I spend 48 grand on a corner of my yard. But Cutco is a couple $100 or even a couple $1,000. That's nothing compared to what they do when they do some landscaping in their yard, right? But they do that when they spend 10 grand, 50 grand. They think, oh, I don't know, here's where we're getting into the negotiation phase. So you got to let them say the objection. You got to listen, right? And don't be upset that you got the objection. Second step is to go ahead and mirror it back to them. They call it mirroring and matching, even in your temperament. If they're leaning in, you should lean in. If they're sitting back, you should sit back. If they're smiling, you should smile, right? If they're, looking at introspective, you should maybe, okay, right? And, mirror it back to them or repeat so what you're saying is you feel like right now, that's a little more money than you were planning to spend today. And they're like, yeah, that's exactly what I did. And then you can say, well, I can understand. And then we use the feel, felt, found. Patrick, put your finger on your nose if you can hear me. Where's Patrick? Okay. Here, Ethan, will you in the WhatsApp, Ethan, just say feel, felt, found, Phil? Feel, felt, found. Phil. Yeah. You know what? If you got it, post it. Say, Phil told me to post this. Okay, if you got that video. So then you do the feel, felt, found. I'm going to hurry here so we can get you guys on your places. Showing empathy is Mr. Jones. Write down feel, felt, found. I understand how you might feel that way. A lot of my other customers have felt that way. A lot of my other customers have felt like it's a little bit more money than they felt like spending today. But one of the things I found is when I showed them this smaller option, or when we talked about the fact they can try it out for 3 weeks, or when we talked about the fact that the smaller option has this, and the galley set, use the feel, felt, found to, present a new solution as number 4, right? So I understand him may feel that way. It's a little bit more than you want to spend today. A lot of my other customers felt the same way. But one of the things I found was that if you think about it, it's only this much per day, to 362 a month is only $11 a day. And they're like, oh, you know what I mean? And you can kind of go through things that way, right? You present the solution, which is right there in your manual, and then you always ask for the order. So I want to bring a point here that your manual is so freaking perfect. Okay, so there's so many faces here. Okay. So let's get over here and go to that manual and notice how well this actually follows the manual. Okay. So if I go to the knee-jerk reactions, okay, so the 3 set close, this should have been reset. I don't know, Patrick, did this get done? 3 set close, we go to the 3 set close, and then we ask for the order, and then we go to dropping down. But the knee-jerk reactions, oh, I understand it's not quite, blah, blah, blah. But if we go to dropping down right here, guys, it says next is our galley set. Hey, Patrick. Okay, knee-jerk reactions. There it is. Perfect. So we go to knee-jerk reactions. You say, I understand you might feel the way a lot of people have found. I completely understand there's empathy, right? Lots of being impulsive. That's why most of our customers take advantage. It's almost a feel, felt, found right there. And if you don't like it after 3 weeks, you can send it back and get a full refund. And on a 5-month plan, it's only this much. And then you always end with a what? AFTO. We always end with an AFTO. How does that sound? How does that sound? Now, when they say, well, that sounds better, I'm going to say, should we go ahead and do that? So it's a second AFTO. How does that sound is a trial close. Write down trial close and we'll wrap up here. When you say, how does that sound? How does that sound? That's saying, oh, that sound, they might say, that sounds better. Then I'm going to ask for the order and plan on writing up an order. But if you say, how does that sound? They're like, well, that sounds better. Are they going to say yes or no? They're going to say no there. Guess how I'm going to ask for the order? Exactly the same way with the exact same expectancy. So write this down. Every time you AFTO, ask with the intent that they're going to say yes. Even though you've already felt that they're probably going to say no, I'm going to ask with the expectancy they're going to say yes. And here's what I want you to write down word for word, guys. Write this down word for word. The simple act of you asking for the order. So write down the simple act. And Patrick, can you type this in the chat box? Right? Patrick, can you type this in the chat box? The simple act of you asking them for the order is a direct reflection of your conviction that they should buy it. Doesn't mean they're going to buy it, but it's a direct reflection of your belief that they should buy it. So once again, Patrick, hey, Patrick, can you type this in the chat box? The simple act of you asking them for the order is a direct reflection of your belief that they should buy it, even if they don't. That's what I want you guys to write down. The simple act of you asking them for the order is a direct reflection of your belief. Could you add that extra phrase, Patrick? Of your belief that they should get it. Even if they're not going to say yes, when you ask for the order like that, you could go into like how guys or girls might ask each other out on dates. With the right type of conviction and confidence, that does read different. It hits different than someone asks you wimpy, even if you don't like the person, right? That's a different amount of confidence. So even though I feel that they're going to say no, I'm going to act with the full intentions that they're going to say yes, expecting they're going to say no, but my asking for the order is showing them I still think it's a smart purchase for them. Does that make sense? And that's true on the galley. It's true on the starters. It's true as I go to the 5-piece. I'm asking for the order. Like, why wouldn't you buy this stuff? You're crazy not to, right? And guys, when you have a product that's so amazing that they will literally use it every day, even Fast Sunday, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, 10 years later, 20, 30 years later, what's great is you can learn these skills and feel amazing about helping your customers. This isn't like, oh, I used some smoke and mirrors and I got them to buy some $5,000, gimmick, or buy into this whatever multi-level or this potion or whatever oils and whatever, right? You're literally like, this is something you'll use every day till the day you die. And that's amazing. And that's why we can do this with full awesome integrity and feel great, because Cutco's literally buy once, use every day, never have to buy ever again. And they save time, money, and energy. That doesn't mean they always buy an ultimate set, even though you want them to. Doesn't mean they're going to buy a homemaker just because you want them to. So handling the objections is finding the right value that matches the price point that's going to work for them. Okay, guys? Hey, thank you all for being here. Stoked about where